You're looking at the brand new DJI Osmo Action 4. This is the latest and greatest action camera from DJI, and as you can probably tell just by looking at it, this builds upon the success of the Action 3 with an added focus on image quality and low light performance. And that's a big deal because action cameras, as amazing as they are, they do struggle when lighting conditions become suboptimal. That's by far the biggest Achilles heel of these small cameras. But the Action 4 is finally taking on this challenge with improved software features and a new, larger image sensor. But before getting to that, let's take a look at the hardware. So physically, this stays with the design introduced with the Action 3. It's a traditional action camera format, dual touchscreen displays, removable 1770 milliamp hour battery, everyone's favorite magnetic mounting system. Compared to the older screw-in GoPro mounts, these are significantly better and just more convenient to use. The lens cover is removable, so in the event it gets damaged or scratched, you can easily pop on a replacement. On the theme of durability, this feels extremely rugged. Something about the materials used here, it's on par, if not better than GoPro. We have waterproofing up to 18 meters, which is an IP68 rating. And the camera is freeze resistant down to -4 degrees Fahrenheit and can operate up to 113 degrees Fahrenheit. They claim the battery life is 160 minutes at 1080p. I conducted a test at 4K 30 FPS with Rocksteady on, displays on, and got 48 minutes before the camera overheated, and when I turned it back on, it still had 48% battery remaining. The camera's max settings goes up to 4K 120 FPS, great for high-res, slow-motion video clips. We still have 10-bit and D-Log color for those of you guys that want more control in the post-processing of your images. In that same line of control, we have optional ND filters that very easily attach to the lens of the camera. These act as sunglasses to help you adjust shutter speed in very bright conditions. But the main event here is the all-new, larger 1/1.3 inch image sensor. All else being equal, a bigger image sensor will give you a better image. It can simply capture more detail, dynamic range, and light. So that all comes together to make what I think is a very well-rounded action camera. It's essentially a pro version of last year's model, keeping what worked and improving upon the image quality. Okay, the sun went down 15 minutes ago. It's getting pretty dark. And I have what I think is the best low light settings. So image stabilization is completely off, and we have the auto night mode detect on. Let's do this. So here is a side-by-side low-light test of the Action 4. Generally, it is very impressive for such a small camera, and as long as there is some source of light, so street lights, headlights, I would say it is a usable image. In particular, I wanted to highlight the difference between low light performance with stabilization on and off. That is the difference between these two images. The stabilization at play here is electronic, EIS, so the processor in the camera is stitching together all the frames to give you a final stabilized video. As we all know, this works amazingly well when there's enough ambient light. When you get into low light situations, it tends to add a motion blur effect. So when the video is not stabilized, I think the low light performance is much cleaner. You just have to stabilize the camera in some other way via a tripod or some kind of physical gimbal. All right, stabilization test. We are going handheld, which is the worst possible method for stable footage. This is the control because we have 0 stabilization on. All the other settings are auto, 4K, 30 FPS, and we have the standard field of view. Right, now this is horizon balancing. So it should maintain a level horizon up until 45 degrees. This is walking. And this is running. Man, that is bumpy. There is one more higher level of stabilization, and to access it you need to be in 2.7K. It wasn't available on 4K 30. This is horizon steady, and no matter how I move the camera, the horizon is always going to be level. All right, now we're doing a field of view test. I have rock steady stabilization on, which for me is my go-to stabilization method. You guys are mounted on my chin, and we're in the standard de-warp field of view right now. And this is how it looks. By the way, this trail is so bumpy. All right, we still have the same stabilization, rock steady, and this is the wide field of view. Should be a little bit better, but I think the ultra wide for this kind of mounted use is the best. But this again is the wide focal point. And finally, this is the ultra wide field of view. Personally, this kind of footage I always record in this field of view, as well as this stabilization, rock steady. So this should look the best, the most immersive, plenty of stabilization. You guys can see the framing, like in terms of the handlebars, bike to sky ratio. This is the ultra wide. All right, this is closing thoughts on the new DJI Osmo Action 4. I figured we can record this bit live on the bike at nighttime. This camera is all about better image quality, especially in low light. And these conditions are really pushing the camera to its limits. The camera is on full auto with stabilization off. I think when it's nighttime, you have to shut off image stabilization if you don't want a blurry mess. Yeah, so my overall opinion of the camera after having used it, reviewed the footage, made videos with it, I think they've done a lot of things right with this camera. And I'm really happy that DJI is focusing on delivering a bigger and higher quality image sensor. It's not the most flashy spec, right? They could have focused on excessive resolution, like the first ever 6K action camera, beating the GoPro on paper. But at some point there's diminishing returns, the camera is working harder than it needs to, and the image quality really isn't that much better. So in my estimation, 4K, 120 frames per second, right now in 2023 in the foreseeable future is more than enough. So I'll go ahead and leave this camera linked down below if you guys want to check it out. I think it's obvious that compared against the GoPro Hero 11, it is the obvious choice. We do have to see how the next gen GoPro 12 stacks up against this camera. Unfortunately, we have to wait until September, October, until that camera is actually released, but I will try and do a comparison once that camera is out. But that's the end of this one. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.